Why do some of the most brilliant minds often appear indifferent or even hostile to social life? It's a question that has puzzled observers for centuries. When we think of genius, we often picture vibrant conversations, lively debates, or charismatic leaders inspiring crowds. Yet, paradoxically, many intellectual luminaries retreat into solitude, avoiding social interactions that most people crave. This apparent contradiction is not simply a matter of arrogance or social awkwardness. Instead, it reflects a deeper, more nuanced philosophical and psychological phenomenon that challenges our assumptions about intellect and human connection. At the heart of this mystery lies the insight of Arthur Schopenhauer, the 19th-century philosopher renowned for his pessimistic view of human nature and society. Schopenhauer argued that the life of the mind often demands withdrawal from the distractions and disappointments of social life, allowing the thinker to engage more fully with the world of ideas. For him, solitude was not loneliness, but a vital condition for intellectual creativity and clarity. In this exploration, we will delve into why intellectual brilliance often leads to solitude rather than socializing. Is it merely a defense mechanism, or something more profound? As we journey through the philosophical reflections and psychological realities behind this phenomenon, we will uncover how the mind's pursuit of truth and meaning can isolate it from the social sphere, revealing a complex interplay between genius and solitude. Schopenhauer's view of society. Arthur Schopenhauer held a rather bleak view of human nature and society. At the core of his philosophy lies the idea that human beings are primarily driven by blind, instinctual forces rather than rationality or moral goodness. According to him, society is largely dominated by superficiality, vanity, and selfish desires. People are caught up in a relentless pursuit of personal gain, status, and fleeting pleasures, often masking their true motives behind polite social facades. This creates a social environment that is, in essence, a grand theatrical performance, a theater where individuals play roles designed to impress or manipulate others rather than to express authentic selves. For Schopenhauer, this social theater is profoundly alienating, especially for those who possess keen intellects and deep insight. Brilliant minds, capable of seeing beyond surface appearances, tend to perceive the emptiness and pretentiousness underlying much of social interaction. This awareness breeds discomfort and even contempt, as they recognize how much human relations are governed by trivial concerns rather than meaningful connection or truth. The constant display of vanity and the pursuit of status appear not only shallow, but also painfully futile to such observers. Moreover, Schopenhauer argues that genuine depth and authenticity are rare commodities in social life. Most interactions are transactional, motivated by self-interest and a desire to maintain or enhance one's social standing. The masks people wear to navigate society obscure any real communication or understanding, making true intimacy difficult, if not impossible. This absence of authenticity means that social relationships often lack the profoundness and sincerity that intellectuals crave. This realization that society functions largely on pretense and superficial motives places intellectuals in a paradoxical position. While they may seek meaningful engagement with others, they find it nearly impossible to fully immerse themselves in social life without experiencing alienation. The very awareness that sets them apart also isolates them, as they struggle to reconcile their yearning for authenticity with the pervasive shallowness they perceive around them. The intellectual's dilemma: gift and burden. Intelligence, often seen as a prized gift, carries with it a complex duality, serving as both a blessing and an obstacle. For many intellectuals, the capacity for deep thought and the desire for meaningful, profound conversations enrich their understanding of the world. Yet, this very same depth of insight can create a sense of alienation from the majority of social interactions, which they often perceive as superficial or trivial. This aversion to commonplace social exchanges is frequently misunderstood as arrogance or aloofness. In reality, it stems from a fundamental mismatch between what intellectuals crave and what society typically offers. While most people engage comfortably in light-hearted banter or routine small talk, intellectuals yearn for discussions that challenge the mind and explore complex ideas. When such opportunities are scarce, intellectuals can feel intellectually starved and emotionally isolated, trapped between their internal richness and the external mundanity they encounter daily. Emotionally, this dynamic breeds frustration and loneliness. The intellectual's heightened sensitivity to the shallowness of many social interactions often leads to a sense of disconnect. Over time, this can cause gradual withdrawal from social life, not out of disdain for others, but from a weariness of trying to bridge a gap that feels insurmountable. This withdrawal is a protective measure, preserving the intellectual's mental energy and safeguarding their need for meaningful engagement. Philosophers like Arthur Schopenhauer exemplify this predicament. Known for his profound pessimism and solitary nature, Schopenhauer's intellectual depth contributed to his isolation. His rejection of popular social norms and his intense focus on philosophical inquiry made genuine connection with others rare. This pattern underscores a broader truth. Deep thinking often isolates because few can or will meet intellectuals on their chosen wavelength. Ultimately, the intellectual's dilemma is a poignant balancing act. Intelligence grants profound insight and curiosity, but often at the cost of social ease and emotional fulfillment. It is both a blessing, opening doors to knowledge and understanding, and a burden, creating barriers to connection and community. Social rejection and alienation. Throughout history, individuals who have questioned societal norms or avoided superficial social rituals have often faced marginalization and exclusion. Society tends to resist those who challenge the comfortable status quo, as intellectual disruption threatens established power structures and cultural complacency. This resistance manifests as social rejection or alienation, which can have profound emotional consequences. Consider historical figures such as Friedrich Nietzsche, Giordano Bruno, Edgar Allan Poe, Franz Kafka, and Nikola Tesla, thinkers and creators whose ideas were far ahead of their time. Nietzsche's radical philosophy was misunderstood and dismissed. Bruno was condemned and executed for his cosmological ideas, challenging religious dogma. Poe and Kafka, though now revered, were marginalized for their unconventional literary styles and dark themes. Tesla's visionary innovations were often overshadowed by contemporaries who better navigated social and commercial networks. These individuals faced isolation not because their ideas lacked merit, but because their intellectual challenges unsettled the dominant paradigms. Intellectual challenge inherently threatens the status quo by exposing limitations, contradictions, or hypocrisies embedded within societal norms. This threat prompts hostility as institutions and individuals defend their established positions. When someone disrupts the accepted narratives or refuses to engage in trivial or shallow social exchanges, they are often labeled as difficult, eccentric, or socially awkward. The discomfort their presence creates leads to social exclusion, whether overt or subtle. In modern contexts, This dynamic persists in workplaces and social settings. Individuals who seek deeper, meaningful conversations may find themselves isolated amid superficial networking or casual small talk. The struggle to find intellectual equals or kindred spirits often results in feelings of loneliness and alienation. Those who resist conforming to social niceties or who prioritize authentic discourse can be misunderstood or dismissed as socially awkward, further compounding their isolation. The emotional cost of this rejection can be significant. Feelings of loneliness, frustration, and self-doubt often accompany social alienation. Over time, this can erode confidence and well-being, leading some to withdraw further from social interaction. Yet, the courage to persist in intellectual inquiry and authentic communication remains crucial for personal growth and societal progress, despite the social risks involved. In sum, social rejection of those who challenge norms is a persistent phenomenon rooted in fear of disruption. While painful, such alienation underscores the difficulty and importance of pushing beyond surface-level conformity to foster deeper understanding and innovation. The role of solitude. Burden and tool, solitude often becomes an inevitable companion for many intellectuals, functioning both as a sanctuary and a source of struggle. For thinkers engaged deeply with ideas, solitude can be a deliberate choice, a fertile ground for creativity, introspection, and escape from the distractions of daily life. Yet, this same solitude may also morph into a heavy burden, bringing emotional risks like loneliness, alienation, and mental health challenges. On the positive side, solitude provides intellectuals with freedom, a space where ideas can flourish without interruption. Removed from external noise, the mind can wander, connect disparate thoughts, and cultivate originality. Henry David Thoreau, who retreated to Walden Pond, famously embraced solitude as a way to clarify his thoughts and live deliberately. Fernando Pessoa, the Portuguese poet, used solitude not only to reflect, but to construct rich inner worlds through his multiple literary personas. Similarly, Stephen Jay Gould found in solitude the calm needed for deep scientific contemplation and writing. These thinkers consciously wielded solitude as a tool, understanding its power to foster creativity, sharpen insight, and nurture personal freedom. However, solitude is not without its darker aspects. Emotional isolation can spiral into loneliness and alienation, particularly when solitude is forced rather than chosen. Inventor Nikola Tesla's intense isolation coincided with increasing eccentricity and mental instability. Poet Emily Dickinson lived much of her life withdrawn from society, and while her solitude inspired profound poetry, it also reflected a profound sense of emotional isolation. Author David Foster Wallace struggled with solitude's emotional toll, grappling with depression and the weight of existential isolation despite his intellectual brilliance. For many, solitude becomes less a creative refuge and more a prison that magnifies feelings of despair and disconnection. This duality reveals a critical tension: productive solitude versus destructive isolation. When solitude is embraced intentionally and balanced with connection, it can nurture mental and creative growth. But when it deepens into involuntary loneliness, it threatens mental health and well-being. The challenge lies in recognizing when solitude is serving as a tool and when it is becoming a burden. In sum, solitude occupies a complex space in the lives of intellectuals, a double-edged sword that can elevate or erode. Its power to inspire hinges on how it is approached, reminding us that the line between refuge and prison is often fragile and deeply personal. Arthur Schopenhauer's concept of philosophical detachment offers a nuanced way to engage with the world without succumbing to its often shallow distractions and emotional turbulence. Rather than advocating for outright rejection or withdrawal from life, Schopenhauer proposes a stance of measured distance, a protective barrier that preserves intellectual freedom and mental well-being. This detachment is not about abandoning society or denying one's experiences. Instead, it is about cultivating a perspective that prevents one from becoming overwhelmed by the trivialities and vanities that frequently dominate social interactions. Philosophical detachment functions as a kind of safeguard. By maintaining a degree of emotional and intellectual separation from the immediate pressures of the world, individuals can observe reality more clearly and think more deeply. This distance allows them to avoid being swept away by transient passions, social expectations, or the relentless pursuit of superficial pleasures. In this way, detachment fosters sanity amid chaos by encouraging a calm, reflective mindset rather than reactive involvement. Importantly, Schopenhauer's ideal of detachment does not advocate total isolation. He emphasizes balance. Enough social connection to prevent loneliness and sustain meaningful relationships, yet enough distance to maintain intellectual depth and personal integrity. Schopenhauer himself exemplified this balance by keeping a small circle of close friends with whom he engaged intellectually and emotionally. This selective social engagement prevented the alienation that total solitude might cause, while preserving the contemplative space essential for his philosophical work. This careful balance addresses what might be called the paradox of intellectual solitude. The tension between the need for human connection and the necessity of distance for deep thought. Intellectual solitude is critical for creative and philosophical insight, yet total isolation risks emotional desolation. Detachment thus becomes a crucial strategy for managing this paradox. It allows thinkers to remain connected to the human world without being consumed by it, ensuring that their solitude remains a source of strength rather than suffering. In summary, Schopenhauer's philosophical detachment is a vital means of engaging with life in a way that preserves both intellectual freedom and emotional well-being. It is a protective distance that enables clarity, balance, and sanity, demonstrating how one can navigate the complexities of human existence without being lost to its superficial distractions. Twitter, Instagram, and TikTok encourage brief, attention-grabbing content designed for rapid consumption and performative interaction. This environment rewards quick reactions, catchy phrases, and viral moments rather than sustained, thoughtful dialogue. As a result, intellectual discourse often struggles to find a foothold amid the constant barrage of shallow exchanges. The performative nature of online interactions further alienates deep thinkers. Many users curate their posts to project a particular image or garner approval, emphasizing style over substance. This creates a culture where social validation often depends on how well one entertains or fits into popular trends, rather than the quality of ideas shared. For intellectuals who value nuanced discussion, this can feel isolating, as their contributions may be overlooked or misunderstood amid the noise of performative content. Paradoxically, the hyperconnectivity promised by social media often leads to deeper isolation for some intellectuals. Despite the vast networks and endless opportunities to connect, many find it difficult to engage in meaningful conversations that challenge and enrich their thinking. The constant distractions, fleeting attention spans, and overwhelming volume of superficial content can drown out serious inquiry, leaving thoughtful individuals disconnected from kindred minds. In this noisy, distracted world, brilliant minds face the challenge of carving out spaces for genuine connection and intellectual growth. They must navigate environments that prioritize immediacy and spectacle over depth, seeking out communities or platforms where sustained, thoughtful engagement is possible. This struggle highlights the broader cultural tension between the demands of modern social media and the enduring human need for intellectual fulfillment and authentic connection. Embracing solitude with purpose. The intellectual's paradox lies in solitude's dual nature. It is both an essential refuge for deep thought and a formidable challenge to one's social and emotional well-being. While solitude provides the fertile ground for reflection, creativity, and clarity, it can also evoke feelings of isolation and disconnection. Recognizing this tension is crucial for any thinker who seeks to harness solitude not as a burden, but as a powerful tool. Embracing solitude consciously means choosing it as a purposeful space for growth, rather than enduring it as a punishment. By doing so, individuals transform moments of loneliness into opportunities for self-discovery and intellectual expansion. Solitude becomes a deliberate act, an intentional retreat that nourishes the mind and spirit. Looking ahead, there is hope in envisioning or cultivating environments where intellectual depth and social connection coexist harmoniously. Such spaces allow individuals to engage deeply with ideas while maintaining meaningful human bonds, dissolving the harsh divide between isolation and interaction. As Arthur Schopenhauer wisely advised, a man can be himself only so long as he is alone, and if he does not love solitude, he will not love freedom. For it is only when he is alone that he is really free. Let us take this to heart, embracing solitude not as a prison, but as a sanctuary for sanity and selfhood.